3, 2, 1.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. It is Commissioner Cooper, and it's time for TSS Fantasy. Boom. That's what it is. Boom. Yeah. Boom. That's what it is. Boom. Yeah.
Fantasy Jesus. Boom. I'm here to save this fantasy roster. Boom. Fantasy Jesus. It worked for The Rock and it's going to work for me.
Yeah. Boom. TSS Fantasy. Boom. Yeah. TSS Fantasy. Boom.
And you just got flandered.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. It is Commissioner Cooper, and it's time for TSS Fantasy.
And you just got flandered.
That's what it is. Boom. Yeah. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. It is Commissioner Cooper, and it's time for TSS Fantasy.
Yeah!
It's time to get fired up. TGIF, ladies and gentlemen. We got I keep saying that. We got Fantasy Feud tonight, Ultimate DFS. We got Week 9 breakdown. All kind of great stuff tonight. We got our wonderful guest in the building. He's here to take on the champ. The champ might be a little scared. He's not in just yet, so who knows. Let's start with our introductions. Welcome into the studio, Justin Jesus Herrera.
Yes, sir. TSS Fantasy, what's up? It is Friday. Gotta love it. I mean, if you're chilling with us now, you might as well chill with us a little bit later on Sunday morning with the Wake Up TSS Fantasy episode. So what you got to do, you got to hit that bell to get notified of that episode. Push that subscribe button because we will be having another giveaway coming around. Maybe a super secret jersey giveaway, maybe. Maybe. But, we're going to bring something because we do it for the people. We love the people, and we are the fantasy show of the people.
The fantasy show, the people indeed. Let's also welcome to the studio, Nick, you got flandered, Macaronis.
That's right. And after you go and check out that little bell, hit on the YouTube, go to tssfantasy.com, check out our rankings, then click on, again, as Justin already said, click on to Sunday morning and get your last minute lineups because I heard it right. If you're not doing everything you can in between the hours of 11 and 12:58, you are not trying to win your fantasy league.
That is very good advice, Nick. I definitely like that indeed. Our guest is in the building. Let's welcome. I didn't even see him call him a guest. More like family. I meant to say that if they were both in, but just DJ's here. He's still family. Welcome into the studio, DJ from High and Low Sports. Welcome, brother.
Always glad to be here. I missed you guys. It's been a little bit while. My brain's been getting a little deflated. I haven't got a chance to put it to use. So I'm glad to be back here and hanging out with you guys. I look forward to this. It's always a pleasure. No better way to start the weekend.
We absolutely love seeing you here. Travis Sumter's already in the building. He said he's actually amped with excitement and simultaneously watching the Mavericks game as well. Colts Martin, give it the commission. Yo, how's it going? It's going well. We appreciate you checking in tonight and all of our fine guests tonight. As everyone alluded to, hit the subscribe button, hit the notifications button, go to tssfantasy.com, do all the good things, but also go to Underdog Fantasy. Use the promo code TSS. We're going to double that deposit up to $100. Lots of fun contests gone all weekend long. Make sure you check that out. All right, like I said, got a lot of stuff to get into. Let's start with a little bit of news. So if you have, or if you drafted Jonathan Taylor, number 1 overall, you got ghosted. And we're past Halloween. My bad.
We're good though. We're good.
Yeah, I mean, wow. So he is out again. Big time news. Actually, let's go to GJ for his thoughts on this real quick. You're a Colts fan, right? So let's get your thoughts on Jonathan Taylor. And I like the way Mr. Jackson's come in and filled in. But what are your thoughts overall on Jonathan Taylor?
From a non-fantasy perspective, I wish they just sit in the rest of the year because nothing good's going to happen when you have a nagging ankle injury at this point that's re-aggravating every other week, and your offensive line is about as thick as wet, downy tissue paper at this point. It's not opening a whole lot. I do like Jackson in relief duty, especially getting into Naeem Hines as well, too. They do have Philip Lindsay, who has seen like 2 carries against his former team in Denver, so if they're not going to let him beat up on his former team, I don't see why they're going to utilize him here. And on top of that, Zach Moss has 17 carries in 2 years, it feels like, between the injury and just not getting utilized a lot. So I agree with you. I like Deion Jackson a lot. I think he can get you double-digit points. It is in New England, and we know New England, especially with young quarterbacks, Bill Belichick is like a kid in a candy store with young quarterbacks. He always schemes up something and makes it difficult. And as we'll talk about a little bit later, but they have not beat New England since 2005. So I think it's going to be a rough day for everybody in Indianapolis as well, too. So if I'm going to pick somebody, I agree with you. Deion Jackson be the guy, and Jonathan Taylor, just sit in the rest of the year. Nothing good's going to happen if you keep playing at this point.
I mean, it might be time to – well, I don't even know if he could sell high at this point, but it might be time to kick rocks on at least, he has name value at the very least, so he couldn't end up with a nice package if you do try to trade him. All right, let's talk about some of the other guys that are out. Keenan Allen again out. No Mike Williams. So here we go. Joshua Palmer. Keep hearing this name. I've heard it about 20 different times. Joshua Palmer. That tells me DeAndre Carter is the guy to pick up this week. No, I'm just kidding. So one of those guys is definitely going to fill in this week. So we'll definitely have to find out. Travis want to give us an update that Jordan says the power is out and he's not going to be able to make it tonight. I think he's just scared, Travis. I really think that's what it is. He knew he had a brain coming in tonight, so he got a little nervous on the feud. All right, so let's talk about some other stuff. Corey Davis is out. Who cares? It's the Jets. Also, Devonta Parker's out. Who cares? It's the Patriots. Ryan Tannehill is going to be a game-time decision, although I had him as my start of the week this week because, again, playing from behind, KC's defense isn't all that great. So hopefully he plays, and he might be my start of the week still. Who knows? Also, James Conner, another game-time decision. He's someone else that people got ghosted on this year, where it was just like, when does this guy play? You know what I mean? It's like he's been in and out. It's been Eno, Benjamin. I mean, it's just craziness. Michael Thomas, heard about that. That was a couple days ago, out for the season now. With no Jarvis Landry, Chris Olave becomes a good play, at least for this week. I shouldn't say that. Do we know if Jarvis Landry is for sure in or out this week? Do we know there's anyone?
I think it's a game time.
So he's another game time. So there we go. I didn't even write him down. So, but Chris Olave, no matter what, proven to be a decent target, could be in fact the at least a wide receiver rookie of the year thus far. Rashad Bateman, he is actually now out for the season as well. So bye Rashad. Some other guys, you might want to look for it. I think, when we talk about this later, Isaiah Likely to me is like the smash start at tight end this week because you don't have the receiver now. You don't have not have Andrews. This guy lines up in the slot sometimes. He's good. So somebody to look out for this week. Chuba Hubbard not out again. So Donta Foreman, he becomes the guy again. Let's see what else do I got. Damian Harris, he's also, I think he's a game time. Darren Waller. Out. He's what?
He's out.
He is now out. Okay, so Rashad Stevenson becomes big up there. What about Darren Waller? What was the latest on him? Because I heard that was questionable too. Did you hear an out or in for him?
I did not, but even if he's in, he's still out.
Well, Jacksonville's not all that great of a defense, so he might be a decent play if he ends up going.
Questionable.
Yeah, he's still questionable. So we still got Devonta Adams. He'll probably get back on track this week. I mean, Hunter Renfrow, honestly.
You didn't say it. DeAndre Carter is dealing with an illness, so he may be questionable as well.
Right. So then Joshua Palmer becomes pretty much their only receiver at that point. I don't know who else they're going to bring up.
Everett.
Right. Yeah. So that's pretty. Yeah, you're right. So there's two smash starts at least for the Chargers this week. So last night we saw the Eagles 29-17. We all picked them. We knew it was going to be a smash. I was kind of worried about Jalen, but he played well. 249, 2 TDs, 23 rush yards. Miles Sanders, we all liked him. He had 93 yards and a TD. And I almost felt last night when I was watching that game, it was like they could have just literally just lined the ball up and just ran the entire time. Like I just felt like they were almost forcing the pass. Like if they just lined up and just ran the ball, they just could have ran it down their throat the whole time. Texans defense is just atrocious. Goddard was the big guy, 8 receptions, 100 yards and a TD. A.J. Brown still had a good night, 4 receptions, 59 yards and a touchdown. And again, I think Nick said it the best. The only person viable on the Texas team is Dameon Pierce. 139 yards, and that was pretty much it. Although Davis Mills in the beginning of that game did surprise a little bit with a couple of touchdowns, and then a couple of he was hitting Dorsett a few times as well, so he looked pretty decent.
Chris Moore had a decent game.
He did also. You're correct. So there was 2 receivers. Just something to take note. I don't know what this Brandon Cook situation's like. Nico Collins been in and out of the lineup, so those 2 guys might be somebody you might want to look at, depending on what goes on. Yes, sir.
Oh, on that note, for the Eagles, if you traded for Devonta Smith, you got ghosted.
Yeah,
That's fair enough.
You would have gotten somebody ghosted if you just would have listened. All right, we got a lot of stuff to get into. Let's get to the weekly breakdown. All right, we're going to start with our guest first tonight. And, I already said he was a Colts fan, so let's just start right there with that one. Colts at New England. You just talked about them not winning there for a while. Against the fantasy quarterbacks, the Colts are 13th. They are 14th versus the running back. They are 2nd against receiver and 22nd against tight ends. New England, 20th against quarterbacks, 3rd against running backs, 15th versus receiver, and 30th versus tight end. Give me some guys you like and don't like, my brother, in this matchup, DJ.
Well, for the Colts, it's just about everybody I don't like at this point, considering their offense has been absolutely atrocious all year. But if I do have to take someone offensively, we did mention Jackson a little bit earlier, but I kind of look at the tight end spot, as you mentioned. New England has been absolutely abysmal against tight ends. So I'm looking at either Jelani Woods or Mo Alley Cox. It's kind of split your hairs because when you pick one, the other one's going to be the one that scores. Either way, they're going to find a way to let you down. But Jelani Woods has been the guy finding the end zone this year. I think he's got 2 scores already. So I lean towards that. Sam Ellinger, young quarterback, his second could start. Nothing like a big tight end for a young quarterback. Jelani's like 6'7" and runs a 4.5 against a miserable defense. I'll take my chances if the Colts can even get in the red zone for him to possibly get into the end zone as well. So for the Colts, I'll look at Jelani Woods, and we're going to stick with the same theme. We're going to go with Hunter Henry for the New England Patriots. If you have him, he's probably been a little hit and miss. He's a little shaky, as all tight ends not named Travis Kelce have been this year, it feels like. So I like the idea of going with Hunter Henry or even Jonnu Smith, since the Colts are bad against both tight ends. I think if you have either one of those, they could be a play this week. Either your tight end or a flex if for some reason you have 2 tight ends.
Yeah, when Damian Harris out, Ramondre Stevenson, I think he's probably a smash start in this one too. At least because just for volume. And you talked about Deion Jackson earlier, like him as a play this week. Look, it's Mageddon. You're looking for backs. We got them in this matchup because they're pretty much the only solo guys. So that's the ones you guys want to start. You got all talking about volume. All right, let's go on to the next matchup. Open my book here.
Hold on, Jay. I just want to bring up one thing for DJ.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so before or after the season, does Frank Reich get fired as a Colts fan?
I'm going to say they get him to the end of the season. Since they just re-signed him, I think they're going to give him a chance to see what he can do if they can at least look respectable. I think they'll give him to the end of the season unless they get like 40-0 or something like that at some point, as long as nothing is completely embarrassing.
Yeah, I mean, the switch from Ryan to Ellinger was a bit of surprise, but, we'll see if it ends up working out. And if they end up, I just thought I'm just assuming Ryan would be better, but again, I'm not coaching this team, so what the hell do I know?
Then they just fired their OC
because that O-line is trash.
Right.
That O-line is garbage.
And Matt Ryan's not very nimble in his legs in his early years.
Statuesque, I believe is the word.
Statuesque is a good word. All right, let's go to Justin on this next one. The Chargers go to Atlanta for this good, interesting matchup, because we're just talking about these injuries to the receiving core of the Chargers. Defensively against quarterbacks, they're 18th. Running backs are 30th. Wide receivers 23rd and 19th versus tight end. All that money in the offseason. Oh, God, that was wasted. Atlanta, 27th against quarterbacks, 21st against running backs, 31st against receivers. Again, Joshua Palmer. Tight ends, they're 20th. What say you, my friend? Guys you like and don't like?
So I did a little research on this one because I was interested to see how Justin Herbert pans without Keenan Allen, because we always just seem like it's like the end of the world that he doesn't have Keenan Allen. And it's really not. I mean, there was a 2-point difference in between the 31 games that he had with Keenan Allen and the 8 games that he had without Keenan Allen. He was averaging 22 without him, 24 with him. I just don't know. I mean, I think it's more or less we've been kind of taking into account that Herbert hasn't been the world beater that we thought he was going to be. Still got 4 QB1 finishes. He does have this. This is something I noted. His lowest yards per attempt of his career was 6.5. That's kind of almost getting into the Ben Roethlisberger range of the past couple years. He doesn't. Yeah, he just doesn't. He doesn't have a deep threat right now, and Josh Palmer is not going to alleviate that. He's only averaging 6 yards per catch right now, and actually 6 yards per target. I'm sorry. But the one guy who's been helping with him is Austin Eckler. Austin Eckler has been awesome. He has 3 number 1 overall performances. That's number 1 overall, not just RB1 in the past 4 games. He's been absolutely fantastic in the receiving game, leading running backs with 54 receptions. I'm smashing Herbert, Eckler, and if I have to, I'm putting Palmer in as a low-end flex, not expecting too much from this one, just hoping that there's a connection to be developed there. And then Everett. I think Everett is the real guy here to go after in like DFS lineups. If you have somebody on a bye, go get Everett. 8 red zone targets, has him at number 4, and I think that's going to go up. He also lines up in the slot, the 3rd most of all tight ends. So I think that if there's anybody who's going to have a bigger than expected day, it's going to be Everett. On the Atlanta side, 28 attempts. Mariota had a great day last week. Don't expect that for the rest of the season. I think that was just game script got out of control for them. Patterson not activated yet, so it's probably going to be an Algier Huntley day again. The splits for them has been 29% to 57% for Algier. Algier also gets the targets. So I am going to say Algier is a good low-end flex. Huntley, if you really are in a pinch, like say Russell Gage is your guy to flex, I would say put Huntley in over him. This is a rush defense that you can attack. And like Kamish said, you spent a lot of money and you got no results from it. They're just as bad as last year. And then Drake London, 6.9 points since his breakout has been his average. Absolutely terrible. You got to almost start him as a flex just because of the name value, but it's kind of getting to that point where it's Kyle Pitts level where you're like, do I really have to start him anymore? Can I think about putting him on my bench? Next thing you're going to think about is dropping him. Don't do that just yet. And then Kyle Pitts, looking through Kyle Pitts' stats, he has 3 top performances, and it's only 10 points. So that's really the tight end landscape. You only need 10 points to get a top performance. I'll bank it. I'll start Kyle Pitts and bank on him getting at least 10 points this week. So for me, I'm going to, put Drake London as he's going to be an out. He would be a low-end flex at the best. And then everybody else, I'm just going to go with that. I think it's a fantasy bonanza game. I think we're going to see a lot this week.
All right. Let's go to the next matchup, Nick. America's team, the Miami Dolphins, going to Chicago to face the resurging Bears. Against fantasy quarterbacks, Miami's 26th. They are 24th against running backs, 22nd against receivers, 23rd against tight ends. Oh, Chicago, they're 9th against QBs, 28th versus running backs, 6th versus receivers, and 8th versus tight ends. Nick, give me some guys you like and don't like in the matchup.
Yeah. Oh, Russell Gage is out, so he cannot be a flex this week. So
big decisions there.
Right. On the come up, let's start on Chicago side. Justin Fields, he's having a resurgence this year. He's got three top tens. In week 8 against Washington, he had 19.4. Week 7, he was your 5th overall quarterback with 24.5 against New England. And week 8, just last week, he was your 5th ranked quarterback with 26 points against Dallas. So he's good for a prime streamer. If your quarterback is on a bye, Justin Fields is going to be your number one option. I just picked him up this week because my quarterback next week is on a bye, and he plays Detroit next week. So pick up Justin Fields. On the other side of the ball, let's go Tagovailoa. He's had 2 top 10s this week. His magical second half in week 2 against Baltimore, he was the second-ranked quarterback that week, was scoring 40 points. I don't know who scored more than 40 points in week 2. Someone researched that, one of our producers. But if you score 40 points and you're in second place, you are doing a lot. So anyway, and then his other week was last week. He was number 1. It's 29 against Detroit. So again, Tua is a start this week against that defense. As Cooper said, their defense is not good. It's softest against running backs. So this brings up Raheem Mostert. And I say Raheem Mostert because I don't think Jeff Wilson is going to get a whole lot of time this week, considering he just got there. Yeah, I know he's got history with McDaniel, but it's a different playbook. If they say, okay, Raheem, just take the ball and run straight, okay, that might work, but maybe like once or twice. But I'm gonna still go with Mostert. He had 2 top 10s this week. He was 10th against the Jets with 18, and 7 against Pittsburgh with 16.9. So, and then of course the receivers. You're gonna start the receivers. Every Miami Dolphins big week was week 2 against Baltimore and week 8 against Detroit. And they're going to have another big week this week against Chicago. The only guy on offense for Miami that I'm shaky on is Gesicki, and it's only because the Bears are 10th against tight ends. And even though the Bears are 6th against receivers, it's Jalen and Waddle. If you'd be an idiot not to start either one of them.
Yeah, they've been they've been really good against receivers this year, but not this weekend. But
yeah,
no. Let's go, DJ, for your next one. Minnesota at Washington against quarterbacks. Minnesota's 23rd. Running backs, though, they're 7th, 24th against receivers, and 26th versus tight ends. Washington, 22nd versus quarterbacks, 20th versus running backs, 26th versus receiver. Numero uno against tight ends with the newly acquired TJ Hawkinson. Give me some guys you like and don't like.
For sure. Before we get into that, it was Lamar Jackson was week 2 was the highest score in that exact same game. So that was the fantasy quarterback's wet dream in that game. So that was the one.
The brains here.
Wow, we had man meat and wet dream in the same week. Okay.
I'm just trying to fit in at this point. I just wanted to fit in with that. But for this game in particular, when we look at, I think it's going to be a lot of fantasy points in Minnesota and Washington. I think both defenses, you rattle off the stats, they're not exactly stout. They're very timely takeaways for their teams, basically. I'm looking at the receivers because you mentioned both of them are in the bottom 10 for receivers. Obviously, Terry McLaurin and Justin Jefferson, if you have them on your team, they're starting every week, so that's not really a surprise there. I like KJ Osborne for the Vikings. He's let down many fantasy owners the last couple of years, primarily me. Whenever I start him, he doesn't show up, and when I bench him, he gets 20. But I think this year he started to kind of take the reins from Adam Thielen as that receiver too, both with injuries and just a little bit of decline. So I think KJ Osborne has a good chance to find the end zone and maybe get some of those receiver 2 yards this week as well. I like TJ Hawkinson. He's going to be great in Minnesota, but not this week, as you mentioned. Number 1 against tight ends, and you just got traded over. So you still play him probably if you have him, but if you have a better option, I would look there as well. For Washington, I like Curtis Samuel a lot. I know he's also kind of a disappointment sometimes, but no Jahan Dotson, it looks like this week. We already know Terry McLaurin's going to get his. Curtis Samuel's started to get a little bit more burn the last few weeks in the air and on the ground. So I do like Curtis Samuel's maybe a flex option in that game as well. And for tight ends, Washington doesn't really have a tight end that stands out to me. So I'm not really sure if you could take advantage of them with that because none of Washington's tight ends really scream, take me. But I think this is a week Antonio Gibson could possibly step up as well too. I know Ryan Robinson's the main running back, but Antonio Gibson in the passing game, I think, could get a little bit of action, maybe get you like 10 or 11 points in like a flex spot if you're really, really desperate.
I like you. A big shout out to Bandy's typing in saying, "What's up, TSS people?" 4th in flex, going to be in next week for the feud. Actually got a little something planned set up for them. All right, let's go on. We've talked about a few games. Let's talk about some guys on our own teams that we like, what we like to call our homer picks. All right, well, Nick, I guess your team already played, and since you don't associate with the Steelers anymore, you don't get a homer pick. Justin, and the Niners aren't even playing? Oh, my God. So it's just me and DJ this week. DJ, give me your homer pick of the week.
Well, I did mention how much I hate everybody on the Colts this year, so that is a tough one to choose from right now. We mentioned Deion Jackson, so I'll leave that one alone, but just for fun, I'm going to go with the rookie Alec Pierce because I think he started to find a little bit of a groove. He found it with Matt Ryan, and unfortunately, switching quarterbacks, I think, might have stunted that a little bit. But I think this week, New England's going to throw a lot of goofy things. I wouldn't be surprised if it's a bit of a rout, which is still good for fantasy because that means you get garbage time points. So I can see Alec Pierce maybe picking on that number 2 corner spot in New England as well, since most attention's on Pittman. So I'm kind of banking on garbage time in this one because I think Sam Ellinger is going to have a rough start to the day. Both his mobility, broken plays. I think you could find Alec Pierce on maybe a few big play shots, maybe a few first downs, conversions, that sort of thing. So I'll go with Alec Pierce as someone I kind of like, but as I mentioned, I don't really love anybody in this matchup as well. If I had to pick someone, it's Deion Jackson 1, but I'll take Alec Pierce at 2.
It's funny because I have Alex Pierce in another league, and I was debating on whether to have him in the lineup because I'm like, Bill, what's he going to scheme for? Like, I'm trying to get in Bill's head like I could ever. And it's like I could just see him busting one little quick one down the seam or something just to kind of get through that Bills defense or Bill and Bill's head anyway. Patriots defense. So I kind of like that sneaky pick. For me, I'm going to make it easy. The Bears are bad against running backs. Let's go Raheem Mostert, obviously. So I think
that's like the 5th week in a row you said Raheem Mostert.
He's been in every flex lineup I've had, or any DFS lineup I've had. It's always Raheem Mostert for me. He very rarely comes through, but I think this is the week. He's gonna be my homer pick of the week. All right, you see how I segue right there, Justin. Let's move on to our next matchup. Justin, we'll go to you. I gotta find where the hell I'm at on this page here because we got all kind of mixed around a little bit with Jordan being out. Carolina at Cincinnati. So Carolina, this could be an interesting game. They're 16th against quarterbacks, 26th versus running backs, 19th versus receivers, 16th versus tight ends. Cincinnati, they're 5th versus quarterbacks, 9th versus the running back, 12th versus receiver, and 9th for tight ends. Great defense overall. What do you think, Justin? Guys you like and don't like in this one?
So as I mentioned earlier in the week, this is kind of a match made in hell for the Bengals because they just got off playing this exact same team, but they call themselves the Cleveland Browns. You've got a backup quarterback. You've got a running back who can go ham sandwich on you and doesn't do much in the passing game. You've got a good wide receiver, and you've got a good defense on the other side. And that was the formula last week for the smash, surprise win for the Browns over the Bengals. I don't think it's going to be as cut and dry this week. Obviously, Carolina might show more of what Carolina really is and not what we've been seeing out of this miracle run that they've had. I'm not starting PJ Walker. I know everybody's like, start him. He's doing good. I agree. He is doing good, but that's got to come down at some point. This guy was kicked out of the XFL. Trust me, I started him last year. He was no good last year. Eventually, it's going to come back down to earth. But D'Onta Foreman, I am behind D'Onta Foreman. This man is a legit monster. He came out of Texas a monster. He just had some bad luck with the Achilles. He was a monster last year when Derrick Henry was out. I am with D'Onta Foreman. 3 touchdowns last week. That's not a fluke. He's gotten 263 yards since CMC has left the building. He has just been automatic. He has been playing with house money, as they would say, and playing for that next contract. And I think if he continues this pace, he'll be getting it with somebody else next year. DJ Moore. This one's a hard one because I really like DJ Moore. I really want him to succeed. But if PJ Walker doesn't succeed, I don't think I can say that DJ Moore is going to succeed. I think that Cincinnati is going to be able to handle him. They're going to be able to bracket him. I am leaving DJ Moore out of my lineups this week. I know a lot of people go, what? Well, he's gotten 28 targets since Baker Mayfield is officially retired and gone to the XFL. Please retire and go to the XFL, Baker. We don't need you anymore. One guy I'm kind of low-key, thinking about waiver wire as far is Terrace Marshall. This is not a start or sit or anything like that. It's a watch. It's a watch list type of guy. He had 9 targets last week. We'll see what he can do out of the slot. Cincinnati, I'm starting Joe Mixon, even though, like Nick says, he loves to run into his offensive linemen. I'm going ahead with T. Higgins, going with Joe Burrow, Tyler Boyd, smash started over, and then he would be the PJ Walker of the XFL.
Man, that's
You
perfect.
can pick that at 2 leagues.
And then Hayden Hurst is the one guy I'm iffy on because I don't know. They didn't prove volume-wise that they could evenly distribute it against the Browns. Maybe that was just a fluke game, first game without Jamar Chase. But I got to see it before I can believe it. So I'm going to leave Hayden Hurst out of my lineups this week.
All right. Well, let's see. I mean, again, without Jamar Chase, someone's got to step up. Is it Boyd? Is it Higgins? Is it somebody else besides Hayden Hurst? We'll see. So Mixon could be. Speaking of that, we got a question here, Justin, that just popped up, and I just wanted to ask you because it just brought up with Mixon that it came in. It's grade this trade. Who would win this trade right here? Who do you think? So one team is sending Joe Mixon and Devonta Smith, and the other team is getting Ezekiel Elliott and AJ Brown. Who do you think would win that?
I mean, I'm gonna go with AJ Brown. Even if Zeke is injured right now and on a bye week, I'm still gonna take AJ Brown because he's the best player in that trade.
I offered it to this guy and he declined it. You know why? Because he's so worried. He's not even in my conference, but he's so worried that I'm going to get 5 titles. He's afraid to trade with me. So
No. Also,
Nick, are you low on running backs? Is that why?
No. It was first of all because I didn't want Zeke Elliott with a knee injury and losing timeshare to Tony Pollard.
It's
number one.
Nick. You, Mr. Anatomy, should know what a
It's
contusion
an MCL sprain.
Whatever. Tomato.
Whatever.
Nick, do you know Jerry Jones? He will never go away from Ezekiel Elliott.
I had to bring this up. I needed a running back. I was desperate for a running back. That's why I offered I actually went for James Robinson first. Like it was his low hanging fruit. We were going back and forth, and I'm like, I'm not really confident in Robinson this week. He ends up trading him and Michael Pittman for Antonio Gibson, which don't even get me started on that. So then I'm like, all right, well, you got a starter for this week. Here's Zeke. He said, oh, you want A.J. Brown. He didn't think I'd offer up A.J. Brown, which I go ahead and decide. I was like, you know what? Give me Devonta Smith so I get my stack still. And I want Joe Mixon, for the running back. Oh, yeah, it doesn't really work out in my little calculator here. It doesn't really work out. So anyway.
Nick,
okay.
Nick, wait. For somebody who just said Devonta Smith just ghosted people.
Right, exactly.
He did. So wait a minute. You didn't hear the counter offer. I offered him up Joe Burrow and Leonard Fournette for Hurts and Brown. And I went to some of our guests that we had experts on the show, and they said take that all day. And Mr. Cooper here said no. Hurts is a no-go. Hurts is a no-go.
Right. I don't want Burrow, who's got no Jamar Chase right now, so he's not
He's
on
the second leading point scorer in the league, but that's fine.
Excuse me. I spent all summer talking about Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown, and you think I'm just going to trade them away right now? Yeah, no. That's why you're 2-6. All right.
Okay.
Let's get on and on.
That's why you won the toilet bowl last year, too. So
that's
very
right.
good.
That was last
very
year.
Good.
We're talking about this year when you're 2-6, and that's why, because you're making horrible decisions. All right, we got a feud to get in. We're having a feud now. Let's get into a feud, right? It's time to play the feud. Just Jordan ain't here to defend his title.
Guys.
The title is up for grabs.
He wants to take our Twitter war.
Hey, let me control this thing and let's have you two do the feud.
Well, you don't know the question, so all right, guys, it's time to play the feud. Let's get it on.
Justin Jefferson.
Justin Jefferson. It's going to be a long game. It's fantasy feud time. We got the brain in the building, so I don't think it's going to be a long one tonight. We're going to start with quarterbacks, and we're going to start with last week. Top 5 answers on the board, if you're ready. Give me the top 5 quarterbacks who made the most red zone attempts last week.
Andy Dalton.
Andy Dalton.
Ooh, all right. Pressure's on now. Try Dak Prescott.
Dak Prescott. This might be a long game.
Is Brad over there?
Justin?
Kirk Cousins.
Kirk Cousins. You take the first round so far. Kirk Cousins is number 3. He had 7 attempts in the red zone. There are 2 other people tied with him. And if I had the X right now, Bandy, you'd be wrong too. All right, Justin, you control. What else you got?
Let's go with the guy he played. Tua.
Oh,
Okay.
boy. Let's see.
It's gonna be a long game.
Yeah.
I know it ain't. I know it ain't Carr.
All right, what else you got, Justin? You got 1 strike, and you got Kirk Cousins at number 3. Who else you got?
All right. Let's go with Jacoby Brissett.
Jacoby Brissett. What? Of all the quarterbacks in the league, you go there.
Jacoby, he had a big game last week. Let's see. Aaron Rodgers.
Aaron Rodgers.
Oh, hell no!
DJ, you are up, my friend, and you got a lot of meat on this QB bone. There is number 1, 2, 4, and 5 left at your disposal.
Let's try Justin Fields. I feel like they stuttered in the red zone a bit.
Justin Fields. Shoot, sorry, my fingers are making this thing go wrong. The brain steals round 1. Justin Fields is in at he's tied down here with number 3. He also had 7 attempts along with Kirk Cousins. We got a couple guesses here as well. Stafford, incorrect. And Geno Smith is also incorrect. Boy, you better tighten up your skills, Bandy, before you come on Fantasy Feud next week. So the rest of the list, number 1, get ready for this. Tom Brady. He had 14 attempts in the red zone last week. I was about floored to see that. Lamar Jackson, number 2 at 9. Kirk Cousins, 7. We saw Justin Fields. And the last one tied with 7, Kenny Pickett of the Steelers with 7 attempts in the red zone. Believe it or not. All right, let's go to question. Let's go to question number 2 on this list. Now we're going to go to the running backs. So you need that common theme here. So running backs last week. Give me the running backs, top 5 answers on the board. The running backs who had the most yards in the red zone last week.
D'Onta Foreman.
D'Onta Foreman. He is numero uno on this list, number 1 with 47 yards in the red zone last week. Very impressive. All right, Justin, you took the control. What else you got?
Kamara.
Alvin Kamara. Checking my sloppy writing as I delay. No, he is not on this list, unfortunately.
Tony Pollard.
Kamara.
Tony Pollard. He's number 2 with 25 yards in the red zone last week.
Nick Chubb.
Nick Want to have a jump? All right. So no Nick Chubb. So you got 3, 4, and 5 that's left on this list, and 2 strikes.
Christian McCaffrey.
Christian McCaffrey.
I have never heard someone say so many wrong things, one after the other, consecutively in a row.
All right. Not as much meat as last time, but there's a little bit of meat on here. Brain, what you got? You got 3, 4, 5 with the most yards in the red zone for a running back last week.
Well, when you say meat, the first thing that comes to my head is Derrick Henry. So I'm going to go with Derrick Henry because it'd be weird not to pick the king. So,
oh, it sounded like I gave him a hint. Justin might be getting swept out by the brain tonight. Yeah, so Derrick Henry was number 4, tied with Kenneth Walker. Both of them had 18 yards. Number 3 on this list, Khalil Herbert, 25 yards in the red zone last week. All right, we're getting nitty-gritty now. You better get ready, Justin. Here we go. Round 3, going to receiver. And I want to know the same question. Top 5 answers on the board. Give me the receivers who had the most yards in the red zone last week.
how about Romeo Dobbs? He had a couple nice plays in the red zone in that game.
Romeo Dobbs. That is correct. He is number 2 on the list with 19 yards in the red zone last week.
All right. Let's go with Cooper Kupp because I feel like you can't ever go wrong with Cooper Kupp, right?
Let's go. Sorry, I accidentally clicked on the response there. So let's go to Cooper Kupp. I got to look at the list at the same time. There we go. There's too much going on. All right, Cooper Kupp. He's number 4 on this list. 16 yards in the red zone last week.
Okay. Who? You said Tom Brady had the most attempts, right, for a quarterback?
That is correct.
Let's try Mike Evans then. I feel like that makes sense. One of those receivers has to be up there.
Mike Evans.
All right, so that did not go the way I planned, so I'm going to double down on it. We're going to try Julio Jones this time. We're just going to go down this list until I fall out.
This was the biggest surprise on this list. Julio Jones.
You got to be kidding me. How does that
He's
happen?
actually number 1. After last week, he had 21 yards in the red zone. Believe it or not. Yeah, so Julio Jones 1, Romeo Dobbs 2, Cooper Kupp 3. You're missing 3 and 5 on the list.
Okay.
That
Now I'm running out of ideas. That was literally my panic button, and it worked. It was supposed to be the one that gets me out of here. But how about Darnell Mooney, I guess?
Trey, you are also incorrect. And Darnell Mooney, I got to get back to the thing. Darnell Mooney. No Darnell Mooney on the list, my friend. So you got, like I said, you got number 3 and number 5 is on the list.
All right, so you said Fields was in the top for red zone passing. So chances are N'Keal Harry. N'Keal Harry had.
Whoa.
I didn't think he was still in the league.
N'Keal Harry was number 3 last week in the league. He also had 17 yards. So you're missing number 5. That's it.
I don't even know how I got 1, 2, 3, or 4 at this point.
It's called Google.
Yeah, I was going to say N'Keal Harry is a little fishy.
20 yards out. I mean,
He's going by process of elimination from the QB.
How far down did he go?
He didn't go to Jacoby Brissett, that's for sure.
Justin's just mad he's about to sweep him. Yeah, you got anything else?
I'm running out of idea. I'm running out of steam here. Gabriel Davis? I don't know.
Gabriel Davis. He's still playing.
Stop it. Get some help.
All right, Justin. There's like a toothpick left on this bone. What do you got? Do you have it though? Do you have number 5 to keep yourself in this matchup?
Well, toothpicks don't go on bones, and I'm just going to go with Jalen Waddle. Why not?
Jalen Waddle. Wrong. You're going to be surprised to know this one. And we have another guest, Duvernay. That is also incorrect. Surprised to know Jacoby Myers. He was number 5 on this list with 14 yards in the red zone last week. Believe it or not. But what I can believe is tonight DJ swept Justin. Congratulations, my friend. You are tonight's winner. And we already know this about Justin, but he is tonight's loser.
Dumbass. Thank these. They call me dumbass. Black Cotton Entertainment. Stupid.
So you get nothing. You lose. Good day, sir.
All right. Before we move on to our next one, we got a question here from Travis Unlimited. I'm going to leave this. Let's go with Nick because I went to Justin on the other one. He's got CMC, Mixon, Walker, and Montgomery. Would it be an L for me to trade Mixon for Jonathan Taylor, hoping he shows up at the end of the season? Would you let you have Mixon, Nick? Would you trade Mixon for Taylor?
Not today. No, no, I would not take. No, I'd leave that one. No. The answer is no.
I think the biggest point to kind of dig into your no analysis is that the offense is much better on the Cincinnati side versus the Colts, unsure of the quarterback. So why not? Are they stacking the box? They're not afraid of the pass right now. So
also because Mixon is still playing and JT is not.
Well, that's just right, and that's just one game. He's hoping for if you read the question, he was hoping for he shows up at the end of the season. So that's what that was all about.
With his injury. No.
Yeah, I mean the ins and outs so far for him, especially what an Iron Man he's been throughout his career. So it's been kind of strange to see him on the shelf like that. All right, let's go on to some other matchups. Justin, let's go to you because I have completely lost my order. Raiders at the Jags. Raiders against fantasy QBs are 32nd, dead last. Against running backs, 27th. Against receivers, 18th. Tight ends are 29th. Jags, they're 17th versus the QB, 25th versus the running back, 20th versus the receivers, and 15th to tight ends. Who you like and don't like in the matchup?
Both the running backs, Etienne and Jacobs, love them in this game. You hope that Jacobs gets more involved in the offense as far as passing goes. They pretty much pulled the offense last week after just getting absolutely dismantled. Devontae Adams, no flu. You hope that means that him and Derek Carr can get on the same page again. Don't start Derek Carr. On the flip side, Trevor Lawrence does not look like a bad play this week. The Raiders have allowed the third most touchdowns passing and the second most rushing touchdowns to opposing quarterbacks. So he does both of those very well. So I would say that that's pretty much a good combo for him. Christian Kirk, low-end flex. You're kind of just hoping that he gets the PPR numbers at this point. And then Evan Ingram, he's been on a tear lately with Trevor Lawrence. Love him out there. As far as the Raiders, others receiving options, Darren Waller, got to see it. Hunter Renfrow, got to see it. Mac Hollins, I'm not going to predict it. So I would play Adams, Jacobs for the Raiders, and then just about everybody for the Jaguars.
I think that's a definitely safe call there. We got a question here. DJ, let's ask you this one. Nonstop Philly Gaming, thanks for bringing in your questions. Appreciate you. They have Aaron Rodgers and Dak Prescott. Who do you like more going forward this season?
That's weirdly tough. And if you'd asked me last year, it would have been a no-brainer. But this year, it seems like it's a lot tougher than I thought. I think I'd stick with Dak Prescott just because I feel like Aaron Rodgers has yet to climb out of this funk that he's in. And I feel like with Dak and the way the offense runs, he hits a lot of those weird red zone touchdowns as well, too, where they do play action and flick it to a tight end, even when they're up 21-9. So I'll take Dak for just those. And in garbage time, Dak's the king. So give me Dak just for more reliability. And because Aaron Rodgers seems to be in a funk.
and a little bit healthy at the receiver as well. So Aaron's struggling to find that guy this year. All right, Nick, let's go to you. Did we do Tennessee at KC already? Did I bring that up already?
No, we did not.
I can't remember. Like I said, I'm totally lost on my list. Tennessee at KC. We got Tennessee against fantasy QBs are 24th, against the running backs are 2nd, receivers 29th, and against tight ends 24th. KC against quarterbacks are 31st, 18th versus running back, 30th versus receiver, and 28th versus a tight end. What say you guys like, you don't like?
As far as for Tennessee, nobody except Derrick Henry. You're going to play Robert Woods? Really? Voluntarily? You can do that? So the answer is no on that one. And on KC side, I would say play everybody. The one guy I'm really looking forward to see is if Mecole Hardman can still catch that lightning in a bottle, if you will, because last week he had 3 touchdowns. Let's see if he can continue that. And one shaky thing about that running game, KC, you don't know who's showing up. So if you have the opportunity, stay away from the KC backfield. And, of course, you go with Kelsey. And Juju, man, I don't know. he's so hit or miss. Low-end flex. I'm talking low-end flex.
Low. All right, DJ, let's go to you on Seattle at Arizona. Seattle, this could be a big fantasy bonanza for sure on Sunday. Seattle against quarterbacks are 21st, 23rd against running backs, 3rd against receivers, and dead last against tight ends. Arizona, 29th against quarterbacks, 14th versus running backs, 9th versus receiver, and 31st versus tight end. What say you? Give me some guys you like and don't like.
So you did mention Arizona. They're giving up a lot of points to quarterbacks, but not a lot to receivers. So I would look at tight ends in that one. And Russell Wilson's not in Seattle, so tight ends are actually going to get to play a little bit in this matchup as well. And I like Will Dissly in this matchup as well. For some reason, Noah Fant was the hot commodity. Part of the trade should be kind of that freak tight end everyone wants to draft, but Will Dissly has more touchdowns than him this year and has similar receptions. So Will Dissly is like I don't have Travis Kelce, so I need to find a tight end somewhere type of pick. And on the other side, I like Zach Ertz because, as you mentioned, the only team worse in Arizona against tight ends is Seattle. So I like Zach Ertz in that play. For running backs, I think you still play Kenneth Walker. You don't risk putting him on the bench at this point. I think he's established himself as you play him if you have him almost every week sort of thing. Arizona, James Conner has let me down all season, and I refuse to play Benjamin because as soon as I do, he'll get 0.5 points. So I'm going to avoid that as well. Receivers, you take DeAndre Hopkins if you have him. I'd take my chance with Rondale Moore if I have to, but I don't feel comfortable with it. And Seattle, if you have DK or Tyler Lockett, I play them. Even though Arizona's pretty good against receivers, Geno Smith, they wrote him off and he did not write back. He's on a roll. I give those two guys a shot too. So pretty much I play anybody on Seattle and Arizona. I take my luck with the Titans.
Since you were talking about this game, Nonstop Feeling Gaming, actually had another question. Dak has the bye week, so he's got Geno and Rodgers as options this week. Playing Rodgers against Detroit as a no-brainer, or should he go Geno?
I'll take Rodgers against the Lions because the Lions have one of the historically worst defenses we've ever seen. And if he can't give you at least 20 on this one, I would probably not play Rodgers the rest of the year at that point.
That's what everyone keeps saying. If you can't come out in this game, you definitely are having problems. All right, let's take a quick break from our breakdown, and we're going to come back and talk about ultimate DFS picks as well. But while we're taking our break, let's get our arms getting ready to flex. If we've been to the gym, it's time for Fourth and Flex from our boy Bandy. His flex starts of the week.
I've been working out.
That's right. Thank you, Coop. Bandy here with Bandy's Flex Starts of the Week. If you've been paying attention, I've been helping you out in that flex spot area. So here we go again. Let's go with week 9. Bandy's Flex Starts of the Week. Let's get it started. First off, I've got Jamal Williams. Swift is just not right yet. He's trying to get back to being that guy, but until then, Jamal Williams is my flex start of the week Let's keep it rolling. Get the next one. We got Joshua Palmer. Keenan Allen, hurt. Mike Williams, hurt. Joshua Palmer, maybe the only viable option. We're going to find out. Throw him in there. Put him in that flex spot, baby. Move to the last guy. I've got Darnell Mooney. This guy was super high on draft boards coming into the season. Took a big dip. Probably landed on the wire. But he's starting to trend up, and away. Darnell Mooney. Put him in there. Flex start of the week. Let's get it going. Guys, for more fantasy advice, fantasy fun, check out the Fourth and Flex Fantasy Football Podcast right here on YouTube.
What do you do for a living?
I lift things up and put them down.
He lifts things up and puts them down. Appreciate you, Bandy. Oh, snap is right. Good job for you tonight. Appreciate you. You can find them on Fourth and Flex. Go follow them. We're also putting that up on YouTube as well, so make sure you check that out. All right. So, Justin, let me ask you a question, and I apologize. I've been a bad host tonight. I didn't bring my pen to mark down the games, and we had to jump over. Did I ask you about Buffalo and the Jets yet?
Not yet.
Okay, well, let's get into that one. Let's get into that one. Buffalo and
the Jets.
Yeah, there's isn't much to talk about here, but they're against fantasy QBs are third, running back fifth, against receivers 14th, and against tight ends are sixth. Obviously, that's Buffalo. Jets, though, surprisingly, 8th versus QBs, 13th versus running backs, 8th versus receivers, and 14th versus tight ends. Who you like and don't like?
Well, I know that you still can't believe that you're 0-1 against the Jets this year, but I like the Jets tight end, Tyler Conklin. That's just about it. Everybody else is not really a play in this one. Tyler Conklin last week showed what giving him a good amount of target share can do, and that's 2 touchdowns. Garrett Wilson maybe can show up. Maybe he can't. He seems to break out once every 6 weeks, so he's on a strong pace for a slump next 4 or 5 weeks. And then Zach Wilson. Who wants to rely on Zach Wilson? I know I said go rely on Zach Wilson this year. But, you know, at this point, we're starting to learn that Zach Wilson might not be the guy for the Jets. And I don't see him throwing.
Now we're learning that? We didn't learn it on draft night?
I was learning.
Hey, everybody's got a future on draft night, Nick. Everybody's got a future on draft night.
You just weren't listening.
All right. Yeah, sure. He still throw for 354 yards, bud. And so, you know, I'm going to go with this. Josh Allen is going to have a redemption game on this one, and he's going to throw for 4 touchdowns, and he's just going to absolutely blow out the Jets. And then as far as the running backs go, I don't know. I don't want to put too much into Naheem Hines. He could have a good game. It could be a good welcoming game as far as like him getting like 1 or 2 receptions for a touchdown. That'd be nice. I mean, that could be 11 points in PPR.
Yeah.
Hey, it's trademark it. It's
That's
good
right.
stuff. And then as far as receivers, play them all. Just play them all. Gabriel Davis is going to be going downfield all day long.
Yeah, I mean, so anybody on the Jet side you like or no?
Yeah, I said Tyler Conklin.
Oh, you
Were
did.
listening?
That was it. Okay, that's right. That's where it started. My bad. I was like, yeah, I don't know if anybody else I like either. All right. James Robinson could be interesting, though. Maybe he – never mind. All right, let's go to Nick on the next one. The Rams at the Bucks. Rams, they are 11th versus QBs, 8th versus running backs, 17th versus receivers, and 5th versus tight ends. Tampa, 19th versus QB, 6th versus running back, 10th versus receiver, and 25th versus tight end. What say you guys you like and don't like?
Wow, I bet you Fox is happy to have this game on at 4:25. It's the only thing on Fox at 4:25. Tune in. Holy crap! This is a dumpster fire game. This is not the game that they signed up for. Matthew Stafford, 1 top 10 this week. The second week against Atlanta, it seems like everyone has their game of the season against Atlanta or Baltimore. He was 10th and he was 20.9. Cooper Kupp, he'll play, and you'll play him, and that's it. That's the only Rams worth playing. You can't play Darrell Henderson. Can't put him on the field. Ben Skoranek might get you three receptions. Allen Robinson, I'm going to look for him on a milk carton. I don't know where the hell he went. As far as the Buck side, they're slim pickings over there too. Brady had 2 top 10s week 4 against Kansas City. He had 25 points. It came in 4th. And again, week 5 against Atlanta, everybody's redheaded stepchild. He came in at 7th with 19.7. Fournette's up and down. If he ain't running the ball, that's for sure. Yeah, right now he's on a slope. He does all his attack in the air. Again, week 5, he was number 2 against Atlanta. 25.9. And week 6, I even forgot who the hell he played, but he was a 6th running back and 16.1. We don't count net air yards there, Bandy. Sorry. The only receiver, because Godwin is out, is Mike Evans. And he's been terrible this year. Really, he's had one top 10, and he came in at number 1 with 22.3 points PPR. It's just been a total dumpster fire for both these franchises this year. They got old. The Rams got fat because of the Super Bowl, and Tim Bay just got old. It is what it is. So there's the guys that I like, and everyone else I didn't mention, I don't.
It's no, I know it's not the game they signed up for.
No.
However, it's still very interesting because whomever loses that really is like, I don't want to say done, but they're like not looking good for the rest of the season. So it's an interesting game to say the least. I think both these teams are going to come out firing all cylinders, quite frankly. All right, let's finish the weekly breakdown. We're going to do our DFS after this, but let's talk about the Monday Nighter with DJ. Baltimore at New Orleans. Baltimore against quarterbacks is 25th, running backs 11th, receivers 28th, 18th versus tight ends. New Orleans 15th versus the quarterback, 10th versus running back, 25th versus receiver, and 2nd versus tight end. Give me some guys you like and don't like.
It kind of sucks for the Ravens because you go against the team that's really that bad against receivers. The problem is you don't have any receivers. Your one receiver is 38 years old and has yet to actually play with you yet. So there's not a whole lot for the Ravens I feel comfortable with. Obviously, Lamar is Lamar every week. Maybe Isaiah Likely, just because they kind of play him in the slot and move him around a little bit more. Maybe that can, quote unquote, cancel out the being bad against tight ends. But there's just not a whole lot on the Ravens offense I like. And then for the Saints, the Ravens defense, as the Dolphins know very well from that fourth quarter, there's a lot of holes that can be capitalized on it as well. That being said, the Saints have everybody's broken right now. Mike Thomas has played 3 games in 3 years now. I do like Chris Olave because for some reason the Ravens defense just lets people get behind them at random points. And I think Chris Olave and Andy Dalton will take care of that. Alvin Kamara, I think he's starting to catch stride, and the Ravens they haven't shown the ability to really stop running back. So Alvin Kamara is nice as well, but there's not a whole lot for either team that I'm really loving this week just due to injuries and the matchups they're going against. But I'll take Olave to get loose, just like one random deep touchdown as Marcus Peters is standing still.
Might be heading in early on a Monday night, as that one doesn't look like an ideal fun matchup, but I guess you never know for sure. All right, well, it's that time. We're going to end the show with our ultimate DFS lineup. All right, I did not bring my tank top out in the back porch tonight, so unfortunately I can't go full wrestler tonight, sadly. So let's start with Justin first. Give me your ultimate DFS lineup.
You just got to get the pull-up way suits, so then it just you'd be like Party Boy, but it's a tank top underneath. So my ultimate DFS lineup, oh yeah! Get it started with Aaron Rodgers at $5,900. You guys have been echoing it. This Packers offense needs to get going, and if it doesn't, then they can fall behind the Bears this week. And I think that's the biggest slap in the face to any cheesehead is falling behind the Bears. So I'm going to go with Aaron Rodgers in the get right game at a cheap price, under $6,000. I think it's a it's the perfect price point for a guy who's going against a team that he has notoriously gotten right with before in the past. Antonio Gibson, here's another one. 5,500. Did you guys know that Antonio Gibson out-snapped Brian Robinson last week? Brian Robinson was only on the field for 24% of the snaps. Antonio Gibson handled 47% of it. He's getting the targets. Brian Robinson gets 0 targets. He's getting rushing work. He's getting the red zone work. I'm loving Antonio Gibson at this cheap price. Doubling down on the Packers. I doubled down last week on the Dolphins and it panned out for me. So this week I'm going to triple myself down on the Packers. Aaron Jones, I think he's going to have a great week against a very weak Detroit Lions rush defense. And then that transitions right into Romeo Doubs, who dubbed himself the number 1 guy with Alan Lazard out last week. And, I think if Alan Lazard stays out this week, we're going to see another big showing from Romeo Doubs. And then DeAndre Hopkins.
With 2 ends.
I mean, this man is just – what's up?
I said with 2 ends.
Yeah, there you go. With DeAndre Hopkins. DeAndre Hopkins is my most expensive piece here, but it's for good reason. I mean, this guy gets 14 targets every single week. Kyler Murray hyper targets him, finds him everywhere on the field. It's the first reaction is to look for DeAndre Hopkins. I think if there's anybody to hyper target this week, it's DeAndre Hopkins against this Seattle defense. Joshua Palmer, I love the flex on that one. Joshua Palmer is phenomenal this week. No Mike Williams, no Keenan Allen for sure. All it is Austin Eckler, Justin Herbert, Joshua Palmer. Let's go all day long. And then I'm going to go with the homer pick for the Coop. The commish himself said Raheem Mostert. I love the play. The one thing that the Bears can't slow down is the run game. And what does Raheem Mostert love to do? He loves to find those openings and blaze it for the end zone. Loving that play. Robert Tonyan, quadrupling down. What? I just love Packers right now. Go Pack, go. Robert Tonyan, looking at him to possibly score a touchdown this week. And as I said before, 10 points is all you need for a tight end to be a tight end 1. 3,800. I think he has the ability to get 10 points this week. And then Bucks versus the Rams. So the Rams, Nick was talking about it. Was it Nick or was it DJ? I'm sorry. Either way.
Nick,
the Bucks, somebody needs to get right in this game, and I think it's the Bucks. They're the healthiest of the squads, and their defense has not fully fallen apart. But guess what? Matthew Stafford has taken 7 sacks in 2 games this year. I think this will be the 3rd. I think the Bucks at 3,000 is a steal. And nobody would have expected the Bucks to be at 3,000 this late in the season, but go get them while they are.
Yeah, indeed. Like a lot of questions. Like you're just talking about the Rams. Like, how high was everybody on Cam Akers coming to this year? Crazy enough. Nick, you ready for your ultimate DFS lineup? Oh, you must be on mute because I can't hear you and I can see your mouth moving.
Okay, there we go. Cool. So I went with Joe Burrow this week. At 6,600, he's playing a weak Carolina defense. I took Miles Sanders last night. It paid off for me. Aaron Jones, 7,400. Again, if he can outperform against the Detroit Lions, he's going to be on the trade block for somebody soon. I got T. Higgins this week, doubling down on the bungholes. I got McCole Hardman. He is my diamond in the rough. I hope he pays off this week, continues that streak. Devin Duvernay. There is nobody else, literally almost nobody else on that Ravens offense that can run the ball, and they like to give the ball to Duvernay on jet sweeps down in the end, down the goal line area. So I'm going to take him. I got Gerald Everett, which I did not want to press send, but I had to. So Gerald Everett, because he's the main option right now for the Chargers against the Atlanta Falcons. Zach Ertz, I hope he outperforms Dallas Goedert, because I played Ertz instead of Goddard last night. Well, since Goddard hasn't gotten in the end zone yet, and hasn't gotten double digits, hey. And then my bargain basement, I went with the Indianapolis Colts against New England this week on defense.
One would say Ertz over Goddard is why you're 2-6. All right, let's go to DJ. Give me your ultimate.
I haven't won a toilet bowl yet.
All right, so I'm starting off with America's team's quarterback, Tua Tagovailoa. I think the Bears' defense, they have clearly shown they're not going to try very hard on defense this year, trading away Roquan Smith and Robert Quinn. They don't have a lot of speed on defense either, and that's one thing that the Dolphins have in abundance, so I think they're going to get loose. I think they're going to find a lot of openings. I look for Tua to have one of those classic Tua games that he's had this year as long as he stays healthy throughout it. So I like Tua at the quarterback. Running back, I went with Ramondre Stevenson because Damian Harris is questionable and the Colts' run defense is shaky at best. And I think they're going to spend a lot of time on the field because that offense is going to be stuck in quicksand. So I think just from pure volume, and it might take 30 carries, but I can see Stevenson getting 100 and some change and maybe a touchdown. I'm also going with Kenneth Walker because the Seattle offense is clicking on all cylinders. Arizona's defense isn't the best against running backs, and Kenneth Walker has shown to have a nose for the end zone since he took over that starting job. Even last week when he doesn't have the high volume of carries or yards, he does have the ability to cross the goal line in some way, shape, or form. I think we'll see him used as a receiver this week a little bit more too. Receivers, I mentioned when we talked about the Ravens Saints, I like Chris Olave because that's pretty much the only option they have right now. And the Ravens do like to give up deep bomb plays. And I think Olave is making a strong case for Rookie of the Year, both fantasy and non-fantasy as well too. Terry McLaurin with Washington. Say what you want about Taylor Heineke, but for some reason, him and Terry McLaurin have a pretty good connection in their limited time together as well. And Minnesota ranks towards the bottom against receivers, so I think that means Terry McLaurin's going to eat. And kind of doubling down with Seattle, DK Metcalf, he'll find a way to get in the end zone as well too. I think Seattle's going to get plenty of opportunities on offense. For the flex, I went with the newly acquired Nyheim Hines. I think he's also going to be doing punt returning duties too, so maybe he can find a way to spring one randomly. So give me Nyheim Hines as kind of taking a flyer, I guess, for the flex spot as well. I got Robert Tonyan at tight end as well because I think there's just going to be a lot of room for him as well. I think everyone's going to eat. If not everybody eats on Green Bay, then it's a little bit disappointing. And then for the defense, I went to the bargain basement. I went with the Falcons. Everyone has a career day against them, but everybody on Justin Herbert's team is injured at this point. So I think, and their offense lacks a lot of creativity, and they don't block very well this year. So I think just due to the pure injury report, I think the Falcons can shut them down a little bit, and the Chargers still can't stop the run, and the Falcons will run the ball even when they're down 28-0 to the Bengals. So I think they will shorten the game up a whole lot as well.
Gotta love it. I like that Falcons as a sneaky play with the injuries to the receiving squad at Chargers. So I like that. Let's go to my DFS lineup. I also went with Aaron Rodgers. I think that price for him against Detroit, who was 30th against quarterbacks, is just spot on. You can't get no better than that. Travis Etienne, I kind of spent up, I guess, a little bit. Most of my money went on the running backs. Travis Etienne, I love the matchup against the Raiders, who are 27th against running backs. He's going to get off. He's been getting off every freaking game he's been on, so I like him. Kenneth Walker, you guys have alluded to all the great things he's done so far this season. Gotta love him. Josh Palmer, all of us love him, seems to be this week. But again, it's for obvious reasons. He is the only target there, so he's a guy that I like to go for. Terry McLaurin, man, he's been hot as of late, so I do like him. I know you brought up Curtis Samuel earlier, DJ, but Terry McLaurin seems to be the guy that they like to throw to right now. So again, be the hot hand. I'll ride with it. Going also with the Joe Burrow connection with Tyler Boyd. Again, which one of the guys is going to go off this week, we just don't know. So I'll just go ahead and ride it with Boyd. Carolina, they're 19th against fantasy receivers. And by the way, Minnesota, they're 24th for that Terry Scary matchup too. Raheem Mostert, without a T, talked about him earlier being my homer pick this week. They are 28th against freaking running back, so I love it. Isaiah Likely, I think, is the smash start at tight end this week. I talked about it earlier. with no Bateman, with possibly no Andrews. I mean, he saw a ton of targets last week. And that was, again, they put him in the slot. They put him everywhere. Love Isaiah Likely as your tight end, and he's very, very cheap. And I spent up a little on the defense because what better matchup than go to the easiest one of the week, Bills at those fruitless Jets. I got to love it. All right, guys. Well, we're going to head out for the evening. Want to appreciate our boy DJ and all of our guests coming, all of our commenters coming in tonight. DJ, I feel like, though, we still got to bring you back to face Jordan. I think maybe Jordan was running a little scared tonight. I think I seen why. So Jordan's got to come back, and we got to bring DJ back for this true showdown. But next week, we got a tag team match between Patriot Sports Radio has been on our show before, and Fourth and Flex. So we're going to have a tag team feud next Friday. Don't forget to send your lineup questions. We'll be here to answer them Sunday morning, along with all of the rest of our crew. I can't even remember everybody right now because it's late on a Friday night. So I'm going to get on out of here. We appreciate you guys, and we are out.
We're on a mission. Right. That's because you have my. We're on a mission.